My name is Evan Butler, and these are my predictions for UFC 141. Battle of the Biggins. Ladies and gentlemen, UFC 141 is tonight. Brock Lesnar versus Alistair Overeem, which has the possibility of being the most explosive fight of this century. Forget Shogun Rua versus Dan Henderson. Forget any fight you've seen recently. This is the battle between two monsters, two behemoths, two men who could easily knock out anyone you've ever met in your entire life. Going at it, toe-to-toe, fist-to-fist, head-to-head. Brock Lesnar versus Alistair Overeem is one of those fights you can't pick a true winner. On paper, maybe Alistair Overeem, but you can never count a guy like Lesnar out. He was born with a sword in his hand, as I've been told, and it morphed to his chest and his biceps, and everything about him just screams, I'm ready to kill. So really, his record means nothing. Experience-wise, sure, Alistair Overeem is a former K1 champ, former Dream champ, former Strikeforce champ, and the only thing that you could say Brock was a WWE fake wrestler. But look at the man. He's got fists like cinder blocks. Just ask Randy Couture. Just ask Keith Haring's orbital bone. One punch broke his face, and he spent the rest of the fight in agony. Now granted, Alistair Overeem also has some very, very real power. Thing is though, he has power everywhere. Knees, elbows, punches, kicks. He's a menace. Brock Lesnar on the other hand has one very strong power, and it's his wrestling. The man moves bales of hay for a living. All he does is work in the field. He is a man with hands callous beyond calloused. I really think this comes down to chins. Brock Lesnar hasn't really shown a weak chin so much as a weak will. He crumbles under pressure. He doesn't like getting hit. Alistair Overeem doesn't mind hitting people. But the thing is, when he does get hit, he shows it. Let's see Chuck Liddell for an instance. 205 put Alistair down and out really. Who else put him out? Shogun Rua stopped him. Lots of 205ers stopped him before he decided to move up to a heavyweight. And that's scary because Brock Lesnar cuts to get to heavyweight. That's some scary power from a man. He has to cut to make heavyweight. I can't say that enough. He is in a division in and of itself. He is in a division that only exists in Japan and outside the UFC. He should be fighting freak show matches. That's what this man should be doing. But somehow, he can find the way to cut down to make 265 and fight Alistair Overeem, who used to fight 205. It's just man coming up the mountain, man on top of the mountain. It's going to be rough for Overeem. I feel even with sloppy striking, a hit is a hit from Brock Lesnar. And I don't see Overeem winning. I just see Brock taking him down, landing a hit, and just putting him on his ass, and then just dribbling his head against the mat like a basketball until the ref just has no other thought in his head but to stop it before Overeem dies. It's just Brock's fight to win, and Alistair's to lose. Other fights on the card, well, you have to look right at Nate Diaz versus Donald Cowboy Cerrone. It's just going to be a crazy, crazy fight. Where Brock Lesnar, Alistair Overeem delivers in the explosion market, Nate Diaz versus Cowboy Cerrone is going to deliver in the longevity, brutal slugfest that everyone's going to want to see. It's going to be probably a 3-rounder. Definitely going to a unanimous decision to one of the men. I don't see split. I don't see anything. I see one man just really finding his niche and just kind of sticking to it. I think Cerrone might keep it on the outside for a while with his kicks. He's got real good Muay Thai, but Nate Diaz has got he's like Stretch Armstrong. The Diaz brothers got some long limbs of themselves. They don't really use their kicks that much, but their arms are just good enough. They can keep their opponents on the outside. Both men's jiu-jitsu is amazing. I really find this fight probably going to be fight of the night. It's probably definitely going to be my favorite fight of the night. I see Donald Cerrone taking it though. He's got more weapons. He's got much more. He just has more it power, if you will. Like, can't really point to it because Nate Diaz is a fighter. He's just a dog when it comes down to it. I just see Donald Cerrone just gutting it out more, using kicks, using his range, using his clinch work. I really see him taking this fight. It's a shame. I'm a Nate Diaz fan. I'm a big 209 fan. I really want Nate Diaz to win. I just see Donald Cerrone taking it. John Fitch versus Johnny Hendricks. The battle of the Johns, the battle of the wrestlers. It's an overlooked fight. Many people I've talked to don't even know this fight is happening. John Fitch seems to be the black sheep of the UFC ever since that whole UFC 2009 Undisputed game came out and he was fired for that hot minute. He is the perennial number 2 of the welterweights. No one can deny him that. He can only ever lose to one man named GSP. And Johnny Hendricks is another great wrestler, but he just, I don't know, he seems smaller to me. I mean, he finishes opponents, sure, but who finishes John Fitch? John Fitch, his face is made of what Brock Lesnar's hands are. He's just, I feel he's just someone who is so dull and so blunt that you are going to be bored watching him, but you're going to respect his results. He gets shit done. John Fitch, unanimous decision, definitely. Vladimir Matyushenko versus Alexander Gustafsson. Two names that are very much tongue twisters. The janitor versus the mauler. Most people are pointing to Gustafsson to win. Got 6 feet 4 inches, I believe, to Vladimir's very pudgy shortness. He's younger, he's got crap ton more reach, and he's a real good striker. But I really got to give it to the janitor. He's very overlooked, I feel. He's making a great run as an old man. He's got old man strength, got old man power, as we saw. He knocked out what's-his-face with 22 seconds with an uppercut and a cross. And I really want to give it to him. I'm going to go ahead and say he gets into the ground early. Maybe a second-round TKO or submission for the janitor. Nam Fan versus Jimmy Heditz. I believe I'm saying that correctly. If I'm not, that's fine. I barely know the guy anyway. The only thing I know is that he defeated Bruce Leroy with a rear naked choke in a really fun match. I don't remember the UFC it happened at. I believe it was Hardy Lytle. But I'm going to have to say that Nam Fan takes this. Nam Fan is a really good fighter. He's been screwed over by the judges a few times, given really hard fights. That Leonard Garcia fight, both of them I should say, were real fun, real crazy. He got clipped a few times, but Leonard Garcia is going to do that to you. He just somehow finds a way to keep throwing punches. Nam Fan, on the other hand, is very technical with punches. Aside from Nick and Nate Diaz, I feel he's the only one who really uses body shots a lot. And for a featherweight, he can throw those body shots rapidly. Jimmy Heditz is undefeated, and he's coming in with a real good win with that rear naked choke. And I think it's going to be a fun fight, but Nam Fan, I'm going to go ahead and say TKO, second round. Unanimous decision. Never mind, changing my mind. Unanimous decision, Nam Fan. That's my decision, I'm sticking to it. The televised portion of this UFC 141 event is going to be a pretty cool one, I feel. Anthony Giaquani is taking on Danny Castillo in a wet fight, I like to call them. And Ross Pearson is making his featherweight debut against Junior Assunção, a very tough Brazilian. Now, Danny Castillo versus Anthony Giaquani should be awesome. Anthony Giaquani is a huge Nigerian man. He's a lanky bastard. He is going to kick and punch from so far away. Castillo is going to have no idea where they're coming from. He's going to need to get up close and personal. Probably want to get to this fight to the ground. He's got some power in his hands though, so this fight could be over quick if one of them connects. I'm really looking forward to this, and it's very fortunate it is a free fight. Junior Assunção is a very tough Brazilian. Many people don't really know him. I think his best known fight is probably losing to Kurt Pellegrino a while ago. He's also lost to Nate Diaz, and he won some fights in the UFC. His last fight was a win. No one saw it though. He is fighting Ross Pearson at his debut at featherweight. I think that's an awesome move for Ross Pearson. He is an awesome fighter in my opinion. He used to be a bricklayer. I find that very alluring. I always feel that people who come from blue-collar work just have fists of stone, and the fact that he laid stone, literally, really makes me like the man. He's a slugger. We saw his last fight was an awesome fight, and I really look forward to this fight. I think I'm going to have to give it to Pearson on sheer bias alone, and the Castillo fight, I'm going to go to Castillo on sheer bias alone, even though Giaquani has my favorite knockout over Chris Horodecki when that little bastard was running away. In closing, UFC 141 has the ability to be probably the best pay-per-view ever. I say that a lot about a lot of different pay-per-views, but this one definitely has it written all over it. One thing before I leave though, I want to touch on this one fight that's a prelim. Efren Escudero is making his return to the UFC after a stint outside. And I just feel like touching on this because one, Volkman was contacted by the President's Secret Service, I believe, after making some sort of silly remark about him and saying he'd fight him. Awesome. And two, the last time I saw Efren was on Sherdog Fights, I believe, fighting in the weirdest places of all time. So I'm really looking forward to this fight. I think it's got a lot of potential to be fun because it's just, you can see these two fighters coming from different places and it's going to be sweet. So in closing, everyone watch UFC 141. Facebook, Spike, Fuel, pay-per-view, wherever it is, find it. Buffalo Wild Wings, go have fun, and enjoy Brock Lesnar kicking ass and taking names. Here comes the pain, baby!